Welcome to Shameless Leadership. I'm your host, Sarah Dean. This show is for women leaders who are committed to advancing both their own leadership and the leadership of those around them. In each episode, I offer practical strategies and inspiring stories to help you become a more confident, compassionate, and curious leader. The truth is, you were born to lead. So let's start now, together. Hello, Shameless Leaders. I'm so happy to be with you today, and I have to confess that I'm also really excited that I have a whole week in my home office. I've been traveling a ton lately, and this week I'm home every day sitting at my desk, which, isn't always like a huge cause for joy to have so many opportunities to sit at one's desk. But after 3 weeks of midweek travel, it feels really good. So I'm enjoying that. I hope that you are doing well. And if I've met you recently on my travels, because I know we have a lot of new listeners to the show, a lot of new people following my work as a result of some of the speaking and training I've been doing. I want to welcome you. It's so wonderful to have you here. Thanks for listening. Please listen, share the show, get back to me, send me DMs via either email or LinkedIn or Instagram or any of the places you find me online. Let me know what's resonating. I always love hearing from folks. So with all that, today we're going to be talking about 5 mindset shifts of powerful women leaders. And what I love about mindset shifts is it gives us the opportunity to think about things differently. And when we think about things differently, we have the power to really change our identity. And the contrast to this is when we are not open to thinking about things differently, we get really stuck in certain ways of thinking that can be really limiting. I see this a lot in my mother, who's 87 years old, bless her heart. And she'll say things to me like, well, this is just who I am, or this is how I've always done it. And when she talks like that, I often, much to her annoyance sometimes, I'll say, oh, well, is that thinking helping you or harming you? So when we're not open to shifting our mindset around things or seeing things from a different perspective, our circle can get smaller, our worldview can get more limited. And over time, that can start to limit the way we see ourselves in terms of being able to adapt, being able to grow, being able to explore new opportunities, being able to really to thrive rather than just survive. And in tough times, if we don't feel a sense of confidence around being able to shift or expand our mindset, it can feel really fatalistic. And I've certainly experienced that myself, but I've also worked with a lot of people who have been in that for sometimes a moment, for sometimes a season, where that fatalistic thinking can really get in their own way. So my hope today is that I can provide you with some mindset shifts that expand your thinking around in a few different ways, and also create space for you to continually expand your thinking. That thinking in these ways is going to open the door to thinking more like this in more circumstances, which will continue to give you power. When you have the power to think about things in different ways and see things through a different lens, it continues to expand the way that you have power over your destiny, over your outcomes, even in times where you might have limited control over things. And so thinking through, we're in a world right now where we have limited control over so many things, which can be devastating to wake up to every morning. And if we still feel like we have a sense of power because we're able to continue to expand the way that we think about things, that allows us to keep going, and that allows us to keep showing up, putting in the work, and feeling like we're getting a win every day, which keeps us in momentum and keeps us out of just, climbing into bed and not being able to get out. So let's dig into these mindsets. We're going to talk about 5 mindset shifts of powerful women leaders, and you can use these in the workplace, but really these apply anywhere in your life. So feel free to layer them in wherever you see fit, whether it is in working relationships, working environments, in your home life, in family environments, in extended family environments, maybe in a friend or peer group environment. So the first mindset shift that I want you to be thinking about is how you can, and I want to preface with one more thing before we get into the mindset shifts. When you start to shift your mindset, you start to embrace components of your identity in a new way. So my goal for you is to think about these mindset shifts in a way where you can think about that this is a part of who I am, and that this mindset shift becomes part of your identity. So when we go into this first one, I'll explain more what I mean about that. The first one we're going to talk about is shifting your mindset to a mindset of confidence versus a mindset of fear. So with an identity shift around that, we can think about when you're approaching a situation where you might feel fear arising, which is natural, right? Fear is really natural. Fear is a very protective emotion. And so that fear starts to rise because your body and brain are telling you, like, there might be danger ahead. Watch out, right? That can be helpful information for our bodies to give us, for our bodies and brains to give us, for our nervous system to give us. Where we want to check in with ourselves is, am I letting the next thought be something that's self-limiting or something that gives me power? So when we let fear drive, we let the next thought after feeling the fear be something that is limiting. If we're letting confidence drive, we can feel the fear and we can remind ourselves, I'm a person who can feel fear and still take an action step. And that's where that identity shift comes in. Recognizing that I'm a person who does this thing, whether it's a habit, a behavior, a way of thinking, a mindset shift or mindset belief. So when you feel that fear rising, instead of, I feel the fear, I feel limitations or constriction, instead, I feel the fear and I am a confident person who can take the next step and then figure it out from there. So most women aren't lacking in confidence as much as we're over listening to fear. We're letting fear have that louder voice. So when we can shift our identity to, I feel the fear and I still keep moving. I acknowledge the fear. I understand it's there to protect me. And that's not the protection that I need right now. Or I only need that protection to a certain point. Here's how I'm going to still take action. So this doesn't mean that we necessarily know exactly the right thing to do. It doesn't need to be confidence in terms of knowing or confidence in terms of, having certainty around what the next right step is. The confidence comes from, I can take a step and trust that whatever comes after that, I will be able to figure it out. So we can move forward despite having all the information. We can move forward without needing to know exactly what's coming at every turn. So that reframe helps us acknowledge that fear and confidence can coexist. And then we get to choose which one we listen to, and we are not over listening to fear. So I am a person who acknowledges fear, but does not let fear drive. I am a person who acknowledges fear, but listens more strongly to my confidence or to my self-trust. Okay. So thinking that mindset shift through can be really powerful. And we see in leaders that they do not let the fear drive. Instead, they are able to sit next to the fear and stay in power and stay in control. Your second mindset shift is going to be emotional regulation under pressure, that you are a person who maintains emotional regulation under pressure. So when we have those moments where things get messy and mucky and sticky and maybe really heightened, maybe really acute, that we acknowledge there's a lot going on right now. I'm feeling all the chaos. I'm not, I'm feeling big emotions. The people around me are feeling big emotions. And I am a person who emotionally regulates under pressure. So what does that look like? That looks like we really take the time to pause and create space between stimulus and reaction. And we've talked about this in different episodes about emotional intelligence recently, but we really look at emotional regulation not as suppression or stuffing anything down, but we look at emotional regulation as an antidote to reactive behavior. In reactive behavior, we don't take that pause. So if we're recognizing I am a person who emotionally regulates during pressure or in moments of pressure, then we're acknowledging that I feel a challenge arising. Maybe I feel triggered. I feel like, I feel someone's doubting me. I feel under scrutiny. I feel in the spotlight. I feel like, people are out to get me, whatever the thing might be. So I feel that stimulus. I create space to pause, whether that's literally like, pausing, or it's like, hey, I'm not going to reply to the email right away, or someone's yelling right in my face. I'm going to maintain a calm composure and take a few deep breaths before I reply back to them. But in creating that intentional pause so that you can choose your reaction intentionally, that you are making a thoughtful decision about how you're going to react in that moment, and recognizing that in choosing to regulate yourself, you're ultimately regulating the room. And that's the power move. It's really interesting to see when people don't have this skill, how much their lack of emotional regulation dysregulates the room. And we can all probably think of situations where a leader lacked emotional regulation and the room just kept escalating and spinning. I can also think of situations where people who are just masterful in their emotional regulation can really sit in very uncomfortable, very heated rooms and moments and situations and keep the room managed and help people be able to connect dots and work through really tension-filled spaces, sometimes even with, heightened emotion and yelling and chaos and all that stuff, but be able to still have power over the room. So thinking about how are you identifying as I am a person who emotionally regulates under pressure versus when so-and-so says this, I just can't help myself. I just fly off the handle. Like that's my trigger. Feeling, again, like limitations around that. So recognizing where you can have expansion there. Our third mindset shift here is going to be around boundary setting and clean communication. So I am a person who sets boundaries with clean, clear communication is going to be your mindset shift here. And this one I laugh a little bit at because it's a hard one for me. When I'm setting a boundary, and many women struggle with this, sometimes I really want to over-explain and tell like the background story and the reasoning and like really get into the weeds. And powerful women don't need to do that. Powerful women can just communicate a boundary and it can be clear and it can be concise without over-explaining, without apologizing, without softening something to be liked or without softening something to make someone else more comfortable, which is something I see a lot of is like, how can I soften this to make sure that the other person's comfortable with the boundary I'm setting? So clean and clear communication means that I'm not doing extra emotional labor. I'm not doing a lot of justifying or defending. I'm just setting the clear boundary. And then I'm trusting that whoever I'm setting this boundary with, whether it's an individual or a group, they're all adults. If they have a follow-up question, if there's something they don't understand, that's on them to come to me and let me know. And then I'm happy to further explain if I need to, or if the situation warrants that, or if maybe I've left something out that would be helpful to them. Now, this doesn't mean that you give so little information that people have no context and that people don't understand the why behind the what. It's important to give context. It's important to give people a why so that they can understand why a boundary, so that you can make a boundary meaningful to them in the same way it's meaningful to you. But there's a difference between giving context and explanation versus over-explaining, over-justifying, overly defending something. So looking at how those boundaries can be about you being clear and clean in your communication, recognizing where the line is between a no and a yes for yourself, and understanding that that your boundary does not need to be made in a way that prioritizes other people's comfort as much as it needs to be in a way that prioritizes your own values, capacity, needs, etc. Right? Of course, not at the expense of doing harm to others. So like caveats there through all of that, but recognizing where you can stand up for yourself, set a boundary, and move forward. Our fourth mindset shift is going to be focusing on being purpose-driven over validation seeking. And this one goes such a long way. So if you are someone who is perhaps finds yourself people-pleasing on a regular basis, which many of us do, or finds yourself making a decision based on what you think other people think you should do, or what you think people expect of you, or what people might think of you, this is going to be a challenge for you. So the reset here is I am a purpose-driven decision maker, not a people pleaser or a validation-driven decision maker. When we can connect our decisions and our action steps to purpose, to values, to mission, to goals, then we can stay anchored in here's what I'm doing, here's why I'm doing it. And we stop giving other people the power to determine our worth or our success in a moment. When we're constantly doing things because we think it's the right thing to do based on someone else's perspective, or we think it's what people expect of us, or we think it'll make someone else more comfortable, or it will be the right thing for someone else, but not for us. So when we're doing it from that place of either people pleasing or validation seeking, we lose sight of what's the purpose of the decision and the action step, and we lose control of how we can manage the outcome and how we can react to the outcome. Because our reaction to the outcome is now only determined by how someone else receives that action step or decision, right? The purpose behind the decisions that you make should be the connection to your own sense of purpose, your own values, your own goals, or again, shared values, shared goals if we're looking at making a decision or taking action as a team. So when we stay anchored in that connection to purpose, connection to values, we stop outsourcing our worth to other people. And when we can stop outsourcing our worth to other people, then our joy and happiness is not in the hands of someone else. We keep it in our own hands. When we are stuck in that validation seeking or people pleasing, that can be a fast track to burnout, to overworking, overproving, overdoing, overproducing. And that is not sustainable. And at a certain point, it's definitely not rewarding. And it can lead to so much anxiety and stress because we're constantly trying to hustle enough to please someone else rather than understanding, I'm doing this for this reason. This is the right step. And here's how much needs to be done. And being able to confidently do that much and not more, not a bunch of extra, right? This also can really help us build confidence that the right people will align themselves with us over time. So we have to let go of, is this going to make everyone else happy? Is this going to be the thing that other people agree with? We have to acknowledge that, oh, some people might not be happy with this. Some people might not agree with this. Some people might judge me harshly for this. The beauty in that can be that that's great because I don't need those people to come with me. So the beauty in that can be recognizing that there's people that I don't want to bring with me. They're not the right people for this situation. They're not the right people for my growth. They're not the right people for building my team, whatever the thing might be. When we can make decisions and take action based on this purpose-driven focus rather than validation seeking, we recognize that the right people will drop off and the right people will come along. And when the right people come along, oh my goodness, the magic we get to make together. So recognizing that the right people will align themselves with you, and that is fantastic. And so I've had the opportunity to do this over and over again in building businesses and being really clear about how I take action, how I talk about things, how I speak up about certain causes, and recognizing and certain belief systems, and recognizing that the right people will come along and the right people will drop off. And then at the end, the people who've chosen to stick with me create the community that I was looking to build because I was looking to build something based on certain values or a certain purpose. And those are the people I want around me. It's not necessarily for everyone. I'm usually not making a decision or building something that is for everyone. It is for people who want to go to a similar place, right? So thinking through, how can I be building in a way that attracts those people? Now, this doesn't mean that we're building things that where we're intentionally excluding people in a way that does harm, but we can be intentionally including the people that we want to bring with us, who are values aligned in the same way, who want to go to the same places, and we can be supporting one another's growth. And that can be deeply meaningful, deeply rewarding, really, really satisfying. And at the end of the day, really contribute to our sense of doing meaningful work. Now, that doesn't mean if you have a team of people that you are a leader to, you intentionally leave certain members of the team out of things. You have to find a way to find that shared purpose or those shared values and ways that you can bring everyone with you. But recognizing that you're not necessarily always seeking validation from them. Instead, you're moving them toward a shared purpose or shared vision. And that's the goal there, is to bring them with you in that context of moving toward this shared vision that as a member of the team, it's part of their job to buy into, regardless of whether or not they like or agree with you. Again, mitigating harm along the way, always using that caveat. And then the fifth mindset shift here that we're going to be looking at is building self-trust through consistency. So the identity shift here is going to be, I trust myself because I'm consistent. And I am a person who consistently does X, Y, Z. So this is referring to consistent habits, consistent behaviors, consistent thinking. For me, one of my consistent habits is getting up early every morning. I get up before my family. I check in on a couple things, do a little bit of work. I do my workout by like 7:30 a.m. every day. Really consistent habits. I'm a person who does this. And I'm a person who works out in the morning every day. And I've done it for like 30 years now, more than 30 years. And that's a huge part of my identity, consistent habits. With the podcast, I'm a person who, releases a new podcast episode for 9 years or 8 years. It was every Monday and Wednesday. Now I'm a person who releases a new podcast episode every Tuesday. So I lean into the consistency of habits. I feel like a huge key to my success has been consistency. I'm super, super consistent in my habits. Also consistency in behaviors. So where are you consistent in your behaviors? I'm consistent in my behaviors in terms of how I respond to people, in terms of how I treat people, in terms of how I am supportive of certain things. I'm consistent in my thinking in terms of making myself think in certain ways that will benefit my success, that will benefit my drive, that will benefit my motivation, and that will keep me moving forward and keep me open to new opportunities, keep me open to growing. So building that self-trust through consistency goes a really long way when things are hard and messy and mucky and sticky. It also goes a long way when we are in situations where we might find ourselves wanting to negotiate out of something. So one of the things I used to talk about a lot when I was in the fitness industry and I was a personal trainer is I would ask people, I would say, if you're the kind of person who's going to negotiate your way out of a 5 p.m. workout, you might be better doing a 5 a.m. workout. So if you're the kind of person who decides, I'm just going to work out at 5 a.m. every day or 6 a.m. or whatever the early morning time is, because I know that if I decide to work out, or if I tell myself I'm going to work out at 5 p.m., I'm going to spend the whole day negotiating with myself about whether or not I'm going to do it, then that's not the right habit for you. So where can you build inconsistency and own those things as part of your identity so that they're non-negotiable? Because that builds so much self-trust. I'm a person who does this thing consistently, whether it's every day, once a week, once a quarter, whatever. Consistency or self-trust isn't built through big moves, here and there. It's really built through small, consistent follow-through on what you tell yourself that you will do. And also on what you tell other people you will do. So that consistency with other people goes a long way in terms of building and maintaining strong, trusting relationships. But it also goes a long way for you in being able to trust yourself that you're a person who follows through on what you say you're going to do with yourself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you're reinforcing, I got me. I'm a person who does this. And that's where that really deep sense of confidence comes from. I will tell you, for me, one of the things that's been really, really beneficial and maybe one of the biggest impacts in my career has been in leaning into these kinds of consistent behaviors. I recognize that at the end of the day, these consistent behaviors allow me to be a person who's really resourceful, who can get really scrappy. Because I can do these certain things consistently, I've allowed myself and built in for myself that I'm a person who consistently figures it out. I'm a person who consistently shows up for myself. I'm a person who consistently can dig deep when everything falls apart. And so that for me has been a game changer in navigating tough times or unpredictable times, which we've had many of. Inconsistent action, inconsistent thinking creates so much self-doubt. And that self-doubt can be really energy consuming. It can be extremely exhausting. We can get stuck in what I call the black hole of no, or just this negative, dark thinking. Inconsistent action is the thing that will pull you down and hold you down. So consistent action, even if it's imperfect, even if it's messy, but it's just showing up, creates momentum, it creates stability, it creates predictability, it creates credibility with yourself and with others, and it creates massive amounts of trust in yourself and trust with others as well. So those are your 5 resets, your 5 mental shifts for powerful thinking in your leadership. So choosing confidence over fear, trusting your emotional regulation under pressure, building boundaries with clean, clear communication, being purpose-driven over people-pleasing or validation-seeking, trust and self-trust, building self-trust through consistency. I hope this was helpful. Share this episode out with other leaders and let me know what you think. I can't wait to continue to support you in your work here, in your journey, and know that I'm in this with you always. Thank you for allowing me to spend time in your ear today. If you liked this episode, be sure to subscribe to this channel. To learn more about my speaking, training, and coaching services, visit saradean.com. That's SARADEAN. I would also love for you to connect with me on LinkedIn at saradean.com/LinkedIn or on Instagram at saradeanspeaks. I love hearing from my listeners. Thank you for showing up for yourself today. I see you, I hear you, and I'm holding space for you today and every single day.